Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in just a few seconds. Thank you for tuning in to our webinar, Building a FAFSA Mentor Program with ARP HCY funds. So we'll just wait a few seconds to get settled in. And then Pam, Carrie-Ann, can you see my screen? I'm always really bad at sharing my slides. Slides are up? Okay, cool. All right. We can go ahead and just do a little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and archived, so you'll receive a copy of this recording in a few days. We have some slides here just to go over housekeeping and some resources, but if you want a copy, it's in the handout section. We'll have some time for questions at the end, so please feel free to ask those questions as they're coming in, and we'll get to them at the end of our little interview style webinar. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with Schoolhouse Connection, we are a national organization working to overcome homelessness through education. And we do that by providing strategic advocacy and practical assistance. And you can learn more about us on our website on the slide below. And so again, my name is Jillian Sitar. I'm the Senior Higher Ed Program Manager at Schoolhouse Connection. I work to transition students to and through higher education by sharing best practices and removing barriers. And a lot of the barriers that we tend to see for students accessing post-secondary education is the FAFSA. And so I'm really excited to have our two panelists here today to talk through their FAFSA mentor program, and I'll turn it over to them to introduce themselves. So Carrie-Ann, I'll go to you first.
Thank you so much, Jillian. My name is Carrie-Ann Henson, and I am the McKinney-Vento Foster Liaison for Frederick County Public Schools. And here is Pam.
Hi, my name is Pam Grostowski, and I am a financial aid coordinator here at Frederick Community College in Frederick, Maryland, and the designated single point of contact for our homeless youth.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and stop showing my screen right now. And I'm not entirely sure how to view presenter. Okay. Oh, I'm not sure. Can people see our faces or just the slide? Folks can let us know in the chat or in the questions portion. Because I can see Pam and Carrie-Ann, but I'm not sure if anyone else can see us. Faces only. Okay, yeah, perfect. Great. That's what we want. So our first question that we have is, Carrie-Ann, can you talk through, what's the overview of the FAFSA Mentor Program?
So the FAFSA Mentor Program is a new initiative in Frederick County Public Schools where we match a FAFSA mentor with seniors who are experiencing homelessness with the three goals. The first goal is for the student to complete the FAFSA, as well as the FAFSA mentor letting the student know about any scholarships or tuition waivers that would be appropriate for and that they would be eligible for as a McKinney-Vento student. The second goal is for the FAFSA mentor to work with the student to create a post-secondary high school plan. And the third goal is to strengthen organizational skills. And that's a real broad one by design. As the FAFSA mentor gets to know the student, we want them to just recognize if the student might need some more support in so things such as like creating a checklist to ensure that they complete all the tasks that are required to get through the FAFSA program, get to apply to college or to apply to a career tech program. So just kind of helping the student get through all of the application process. So that's the general overview. We try to keep it simple, and that's it's definitely, as I mentioned, it's a new initiative, so we're learning a lot as we're going. It's a dynamic situation, as we all know, out there in the world right now. So, we're constantly kind of assessing the needs of the students. And let me I just clicked, did I lose you all? Sorry, my computer just froze for a moment. And so, yeah, but that's the three goals are, that's where we are with our three goals for the program.
That's great. And so can you talk through like how you created this program and how did you fund the program?
Sure. So it actually came out of last spring in Maryland. There was legislation put forth where students, in order to graduate, would need to complete the FAFSA. That legislation did not pass, but the Director of Student Services came to me and said, hey, this is out there. And so we can imagine, just imagine and foresee that this may be something in the future. How are we going to support our students who are experiencing homelessness? And so, working with the Director of Student Services, Dana Falls, and then the supervisor or coordinator of school counselors, high school counselors, we just thought through what our school system already does for our seniors and how we might be able to support those students, our McKinney-Vento students. So knowing that our school already supported, our school counselors meet with our seniors. That's a requirement, but we also know that the needs of our McKinney-Vento youth often go above and beyond that, 1 or 2 meetings throughout the school year. So we wanted to provide that support. And we started off funding it because we had Title I funds last year. So we used Title I set aside, McKinney-Vento set aside funds to support it last year. And when I say last year, it was really it was at the very end of the year, it was like the spring. So it was, we kind of had missed some deadlines, but we just wanted to get it off the ground. And then this year we're utilizing starting this school year, we started using McKinney-Vento funds. So we had carryover funds from school year 2021, but we also included it in our ARP Fund 2 application. And so it hits 2 of the main points that we needed to ensure we were covering with our ARP2 funds. The first one addresses educational success of children and youth experiencing homelessness, and the second one being collaboration and partnerships with community organizations.
And before we jump into the partnerships with the community organizations, we just had a quick question of who are the mentors? If you can kind of talk about that.
Yes, great question. So our mentors last year, they were, so in Frederick County, we have home hospital teachers. And due to the pandemic and the fact that we were virtual, those home hospital teachers who are used to building relationships with students and who are used to having that one-on-one experience, we had teachers who did not have as much work, a caseload, I should say, because of the pandemic and virtual learning, because students were able to learn from their home anyway. So we started off utilizing those individuals. So they were FCPS employees, and we got them set up as a FAFSA mentor. Going forward, we recognized, so there's a few challenges there that I can speak to, but we were initially thinking we would use our staff, so our school counselors and our community liaisons who are already contracted staff in the school. However, because of the fatigue of staff members and just the extent of everyone is maxed out, that wasn't going to work because we were asking them to do hourly to timesheet their work. So basically they would already have relationships by the nature of their jobs with the students that would already be in place. And then we could provide hourly timesheeted hourly hours to them to work after school and, on weekends. So we kind of had this other vision. That did not work. So we have hired FAFSA mentors, and it's part-time work. That is also a challenge because ideally we would have more, but we were not able to, we only have a small amount. But the point there is that we also learned that it works best for the students to meet during the school day, to meet during their lunches, to meet during their advocacy time. So we needed someone who wasn't a full-time contracted employee within the school, so we needed to seek mentors who were not their hours were not contracted the school day. So that's a long answer, but it's an important one because right now it is hard, I think, to staff these positions. So we're working with what we have with the hope of continuing and growing the program.
Great. And so before you answer that question, which is super important, can you talk through like how you were able to establish partnerships with community organizations? And obviously Pam's here on our webinar. So how did that all happen?
Absolutely. So when we started talking about this initiative, I was like deer in headlights because, wow, the FAFSA, like I have, personally have a senior this year, so understand it better than I did last year. But so definitely needed to reach out to our community partners and capitalize on their expertise, because I think all liaisons in schools right now, like, when you are faced with something that's a huge learning curve, it's very stressful because we have a lot going on in the schools. So reached out to community partners. So I had already known Pam because through the unaccompanied homeless youth verification letter process. So when a student attends Frederick Community College, and if they were an unaccompanied homeless youth during their senior year, Pam reaches out to me, or we work together, or maybe I work with the school first and then reach out to Pam. But I provide her with an unaccompanied homeless youth verification letter or a homeless youth verification letter. So I already had a relationship with Pam within the school when we were working on this initiative. We recognized that, Frederick Community College already works with our schools to do FAFSA signing events and such. So that was already in place, but we knew we needed to up the relationship for our McKinney-Vento students. So I reached out to Pam, and Pam was awesome. She was like, yes, I will help. So she is our trainer. So she trains the FAFSA mentors in the FAFSA process. So I don't do that. She also is available to them if they have questions, because obviously students have various things going on and some are very complicated. And FAFSA mentors, that's the first thing, is like, I don't, it's hard for them to imagine helping someone through the FAFSA process without that training. So Pam was awesome. FCC, Frederick Community College, has been amazing. The other partner that we have is Frederick County Workforce Services. So Kara Walker, who is not with us today, but Kara Walker is the youth job coordinator at Frederick County Workforce Services. And so last spring, she was amazing. She also did a training for the FAFSA mentors to understand the various opportunities that are available to youth who may not choose to go to FCC, a community college or a four-year college, and has a wealth of knowledge and also opportunities for students. So she provided that training, and she will do that again this year, so that students, when we're looking at that post-secondary plan, if FCC or a four-year university is not the plan, we have other options, and that's Frederick County Workforce Services. And then growing partnerships always. So in reaching out to community partners, our housing authority of Frederick, those students who live in that neighborhood, they're housed, but they also have a lot of barriers to getting to community college and to getting to higher education. So I have met with the director of family services there, who has really enlightened me to some of the challenges that students have. Okay, yeah, they got in and they're going, and they don't have to, they have help with tuition, but now they have to achieve. And so we're also working on that piece as well.
Great. And so Pam, I'm going to switch to you. So Carrie Ann already talked through, for some of the seniors, when they go into college, she provides them that letter, but we know so many students become homeless while they're already enrolled in college. So can you kind of walk through that process and how you assist and help these students fill out FAFSA?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're right. I know there's a lot of students that are experiencing homelessness that don't come to me. So that's the unfortunate part. And that's why we really do rely on community partners, because they may not know there's a service. There's maybe some shame that's tied to it, and they don't want to be judged and go to a stranger. So again, that just highlights what our community partners, they've already established a relationship, to then, soft handoff, we call it, to me. And so I can, assure them that I'm here to help them and find resources for them, And sometimes that requires an interview, as a financial aid administrator, to make a determination if they don't meet any of those specifics that the FAFSA mentions. And then find what resources that would be. Federal aid, there's state, we have a state waiver here for homeless and unaccompanied and accompanied youth. And not to mention just resources on our campus, so student engagement, clubs, activities, food pantry, even DHS services like food stamps, just pointing them to the right direction. So I don't know everything, and I wish I did, but I learn every day. I learn more and more and more. So I think that answered your question.
Yep, that's great. We tend to get a lot of questions from students and liaisons about, what happens if I don't have that letter. And so it's great to hear that you have a really streamlined process and you can help connect the students with other resources outside of just the FAFSA. All right, so bring it back to you, Carrie Ann. I know that this program is still kind of new and you're learning different things, but can you talk through some of the barriers that you face or any kind of obstacles that you've overcome or just kind of seen throughout building this program?
Sure. So, first and foremost, this is a student-centered program. We know that some of our students are not in the place to be thinking 5 months ahead, 6 months ahead, a year ahead, or even a month ahead. So the FAFSA mentor is a new person to this individual. We'll probably use soft handoff quite a lot in this during this time today, but we really count on our school counselors to introduce the FAFSA mentor, to provide a soft handoff, to let them know this is someone who works for Frederick County Public Schools and they're here to help with the 3 goals that I mentioned. But for some students, that's just an absolute no. So we respect that, and then we want to circle back. So again, this is the first full year. And because of our staffing situation, we are prioritizing students who know at this moment that they want to go to a 4-year university because we have to meet those deadlines straight up. And then we're tiering the students, and we'll circle back and connect with those students who maybe are on the fence, and then those students who are just like, nope, not interested. I have a job and I'm just going to go, continue working. We still want the mentor to meet with them. But within that population, there are students who just do not want to meet with the mentor at all. So letting the student know that it's okay if right now is not the right time, but that we're not going away, we're here, we're able to support, and providing the resource, even if they're resistant, say, hey, there is this person at FCC, there is this person at Frederick County Workforce Services, and there's always me, you can reach out to me. The FAFSA mentor would give my name saying I'm here as someone who they can reach out to even when they graduate. So that's, and we'll probably learn more about those student barriers after getting through this year. The other thing is just, I think we're all experiencing just fatigue and overwhelming. So staffing is a problem right now. But again, I see this program as being able, if we can build it, it is, I have no doubt that we'll be able to carry it on through as it will get stronger, but right now staffing is an issue. And then access to students. So like, pie in the sky world, it'd be great. I mean, when we were brainstorming, we were like, we can have weekend events and we can have pizza events at night. And, we can create this whole little, whole community for the students of support networks. And, students have a lot going on. That might come down the road, but that was definitely like, something we thought we could do that we're not going to be able to do right now because students don't have the time. They have a lot going on. They're not that interested. But for those students who we can access and who are interested, we do have the ability to meet with them Google Meet, because we also know certain students are going to take more time to work through some of this than we have allocated. So, meeting during lunch, it might be best to then meet after school. So just having access to students, that's something we're learning as we go as well.
Great. And my last question that I have for you before we turn it over to hear from our attendees is, what advice do you have for folks who might want to build and create a FAFSA mentor program at their county?
Yeah, so I mean, again, we have to address the times that we're living in. And so community partners are huge. I would not be able to do this without Pam and without Frederick County Workforce Services. So absolutely thinking about your community, who you already know and who you need to get to know. Also capitalizing what's done in the schools. So Frederick County Public Schools does it one way. Your school may do already have a lot of support there. I just know for our school counselors, they're so maxed out. Their caseloads are just extreme. And so we need more support there. So that's where the FAFSA mentor comes in. Then, utilizing the soft handoff through this process and through like exit interviews with some of our graduating seniors, we learn that students who may not be thinking ahead don't recognize that when they graduate, their school email is shut off. Their connection to the school counselor, their connection to their support system. In some of our interviews, kind of casual anecdotal interviews with our students who have graduated, there was a real loss there for them. I mean, they didn't quite recognize the supports that the school provided. And then these happened to be unaccompanied homeless youth. And it was, is heartbreaking. And so we want to do better by our students. So part of this FAFSA mentor program, when I spoke to the organizational skills, soft skills, part of that is also just letting the student know, okay, so when you graduate, this is going to happen. But that's why we're going to make sure you have a Google account and that you have a phone, and we're going to find a way to get you a phone, and we're going to make sure you have all of this in place so that you are able to continue on, and that there are friendly faces like Pam at FCC and their student services at Frederick Community College and at University of Maryland will connect you to those people. So I think, as you're going, you kind of want to think about it. Maybe that's the inspiration, is like helping to get that soft handoff from high school to something else for our students who have a lot going on. And then just learning. I mean, Schoolhouse Connections is the bomb when it comes to resources. You all are amazing. There are so many resources that I've yet to tap into from your website. So like, you all have so much already there. And then tapping into your state, like we have tuition waivers, we have scholarships in Frederick County through our community foundation that I'm going to be learning more about. So there's a lot to learn, and just kind of finding what's out there so that you can help support your students. Yeah, so I think overall, just knowing you're not alone. There are a lot of people out there that want to help. When you say this program to people, they're just like, that's awesome. Like, how can I help? So I do think there's a lot. It's very, it's a very tangible tool and hopefully program that will be providing our students with a lot of supports.
That is amazing. I really think this is such an awesome program that can be replicated in many counties, and hopefully, as a result, get more students experiencing homelessness filling out the FAFSA and going to college. Yes. I saw that there was a question, which I don't want to get too much in the nitty-gritty, so I'm just going to ask that person to please email me, and we'll kind of figure that portion out. But if folks have questions, please ask. I'm going to reshare my screen again, just to kind of highlight some resources that we have that Carrie Ann was talking about. So we have our Schoolhouse Connection FAFSA page, where we have just, really a ton of resources on there, including that's broken down in different sections. So if you are a youth, you have all your youth-related FAFSA resources. If you are in the K through 12, if you're working in higher ed, so we kind of really break that down. And then just generally, we have our higher education page. And so I will put the contact information up here for you all to reach out to Carrie Ann and to Pam if you have any specific questions. I'm also going to put in the chat, I forgot to make this slide, but we have our Education Leads Home national convening that's happening in March. And so we have, we're really pushing for team registration. So for folks coming from different groups. So for example, Carrie Ann and Pam, Carrie Ann's in the K through 12 system, Pam's in the higher ed system. They can be together as a team because we want this work to be really collaboratively and not necessarily, you know, working in silos, but we did open it up for individual registration as well. We just ask that if folks are individually registering, please be mindful of including your geographic location and your focus area, because we want to try to pair you up with a specific person. So I'm going to unshare my screen again and put that link on in the chat, but I'm going to see if there's any questions right now that are popping up. I know we asked, oh, okay. Someone asked, what does the training process look like?
Right. So we the training process right now, we have the FAFSA mentors do a training on the McKinney-Vento Act and rights and services available to students, because some of the FAFSA mentors will not, you know, be familiar with that. And then we have, I think it's about 90-minute training with Pam, with Frederick Community College, and that goes through the FAFSA process, also the MISFA process, which is the financial aid application for students who do not have documentation. So in Maryland, we have the FAFSA and then we have the MISFA. And then we also have a 90-minute training with Carol Walker, who with Frederick County Workforce Services. And in that training, she outlines the programs that are available so that when the mentor meets with the student, they're able to share, if the student isn't, you know, looking right now to go to into a community college or four-year institution, the other available opportunities. So she takes them through that. Right now, those are virtual, and recorded. So we have an initial process training, but then as we hire and hopefully hire more FAFSA mentors, I have them downloaded and they can just do that on their own. But you know, I'm definitely learning a lot more, and the mentors are letting me know what they need more to learn about. So they'll, you know, reach out to me and ask questions, and then I either send them somewhere or try to provide it. So next year the training might look even more comprehensive, but right now it's just those 3 trainings.
And then Carrie Ann, do you have a number about how many youth are being mentored? So I know you had some last year and then you have some this year.
Yeah, so on average, we have 90 to 100 seniors who are experiencing homelessness. And right now we are able to meet probably a third of that at this point. So we will get to all of them, but it will take us some time to get through with the limited mentors that we have at this point.
Okay, and then someone's asking perhaps if you could maybe create, both of you, a like how-to guide on how to establish this type of program or the support. So maybe we might, you know, get in touch with you all again to create, you know, like a tangible guide. I think that'd be really awesome. But if there's any other, you know, tips or advice on how to establish this type of program, I think that'd be helpful to share with the group.
Yeah, so Jillian, I'm happy to, I think my email was in there and I'd be happy to follow up with someone. I have a kind of a general document that just outlines the FAFSA mentor program. And then I have our job description, so I could share that out with anyone who emails me. And, you know, Pam may have, I mean, so, and then we have trainings and such, which we could share, but I would say, you know, for it to work for your county, the push, I think the push that helped for us was the looking down the road that one day this might be a graduation requirement for seniors. I mean, personally, I think that's a tough ask, but if it becomes that, we're going to have a lot to do as a school system. It will no longer be something extra we're adding. So, you know, you might want to look into just to get that support, to look into what's going on with your legislation. And if that's something that's coming down the pike, that would probably help get the momentum going. So, but yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone wants to email me and share my resources.
And those 2 documents that you just mentioned, Carrie Ann, if you can send those to me, we can send it out and we'll put it in the email with the archived recording of this. So
I'm sure, yes.
That'd be helpful as well. All right, see if there's any other questions. Oh, one last question. Are the mentors allowed to continue contact with the students post-graduation?
Oh, I love that question. So, like with Title I funds, when the student graduated, technically, like that funding ends, right? That is a question I actually have for our state Department of Education, because that soft handoff is so key. And I think feeling like, you know, the last thing you want is for a student to feel abandoned, you know, if they have this kind. I will say that our FAFSA mentors right now are of the type that, you know, regardless if they get paid or not, they're going to still continue to work with the student. But that is something that you have that is yet to be unfold. In terms of can we pay our FAFSA mentors for working with students who have graduated with the funding source? So that's just gonna, yeah, I don't have that answer yet, but and if not, then finding the community partner to step in, and maybe that's more where I can work with Pam and, you know, do that soft handoff to FCC or whatever. But we do not want the student to feel left. So that's important till they're established.
Great. Well, with that, we are out of time. Thank you, Carrie Ann and Pam, for joining us today. I know that it's always like super chaotic post-holiday and, you know, pre-holiday coming up with the first of December. So thank you both for tuning in. Folks, if we did not get to your question, please, you know, reach back out to me, Pam, or Carrie Ann, and we'll get back to you. But thank you all so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.